Hello out there, and before we get started with any of this modification stuff, I just want to show off a couple new things that I got that I'm really excited about that I'll be putting on camera, I'm sure, a lot more in the near future. I got two knives that have been on my list for a long time, and I got them both within the past week. This is the Spyderco Domino in the blue carbon fiber weave that you can see here. I actually traded for this knife straight up for my Blurple Paramilitary 2 in S110V. And this is going to work out really well for me because I will definitely carry this knife more. I still have another para too, so hopefully no big deal there, but I've wanted this one for a long time, and while it is slightly used, it's in wonderful condition. So really thrilled about this one, and also just got an extremely late birthday present, but it's worth the wait, the 0450 from ZT. Really happy about this. This has been near the top of my list for a long time, and even though I just got it yesterday, I know that it is as good as I wanted it to be. So really thrilled with this. I'll be talking about this on the channel in the near future as well. You'll probably see it on Instagram a whole lot if you follow me there. But the focus of this video today is really going to be on modifications, and some modifications that I'm currently working on and plan to work on, and then also some advice about some failures that I've had in the past. All right, because when I posted this video a week or so ago about the CRKT VASP, even though this video was 26 minutes long, I still got some really good feedback from it. It wasn't a very popular video, and maybe that was because of the length or the content or the knife itself, who knows, but I did get some really good responses and some good questions, and some people asking for more modification stuff, and some people asking specific questions about mods. So I decided to follow up with you about some of the stuff that I'm doing, and hopefully give you a little bit more information. Because this knife, as you know, really worked out well, but that isn't always the case. All right, so first, what I'm working on right now is this CRKT Amicus. You can see a few pieces of it right here. Here's the frame that I have some plans for, and then here's also the blade. And this is a really exciting one for me because this is the first time that I've actually planned to modify a knife that was for a specific customer. And it happens to be a viewer of mine, and I'd never had an Amicus before, so I was really excited to work on it. And I have really good plans for the acid etch on this blade, which is why it's going to take quite a while, because I'm doing a lot of testing and a lot of experiments on other blade shapes and other blades just to see that the design I want to put on there is going to work out the way that I expect it to. So it's going to take a little bit longer than normal, but I'm really hopeful that it's going to be great and excited for the result. You know, I've done modifications for like knives on, you know, ones that were owned by my wife or one that I gave to my father. And I've done other modifications that I've sold to people, but never one specifically for a person as I was doing it. So that's a real excitement for me. I've also got a Kershaw Dimension on the way that I'll be doing the same thing for. I'm actually going to be opening that box on camera, and that's from another viewer. So really excited to do that. And also, before I talk about these two knives, I've got this Mora, and this is my first ever Mora. It just came in this past week. It's a really cheap knife, $12, but it's not cheap in quality, to be honest with you. You know, it's a lower end, some materials are lower end, I guess, but it is a really good user, has a really good popular fan base, and I can see why. It's just a really cool overall design and knife for bushcraft, and I think from what I've seen it'll really hold up. You know, I'll link to the video that really got me into getting one of these knives. It's from Doc P, who I follow pretty religiously, and he makes some good videos, so I'll link to him in the description if you want to see more about his experience with Moras. But I'll be modifying this knife in the near future, probably putting a forward choil on it, maybe a ramp, to make it a little more ergonomic and give you some more grip configurations. Not sure if that'll work out great with this particular model because it is a little bit shorter, but maybe I'll wait and get a longer Mora in order to do that kind of work with, but we'll see. All right, but now getting into the two main things I want to talk about, and these are two knives that I've worked on, you know, in the past, and both of them have had some opportunities that I could have done things better, or the result could have been better. And this is really sort of an advice kind of part for people who are either getting into modifying or acid etching, or are having some mistakes the way that I have and are getting a little bit discouraged, because you shouldn't get discouraged. What you should do is follow the processes that you know, study up, and make sure that you do your due diligence and do the best that you can, and understand that knives like this, which we'll get to, which are not good to use, are going to happen, and just learn from that. All right, but first let's talk about this Pico. And this Pico is one that I did just about a week or so ago. And actually not even, it was just a few days ago. I took this knife apart. I just did a heat ano on it. Was pretty happy with the results. You can see a pretty nice bronze right here on the frame. And then I got some purple and blue color on the hardware on both sides. So it looks pretty cool. You know, the clip has a nice little like two-tone effect there too. And the hardware got anoded as well. You know, all these screws. And it looked good, and I put it back together, and I thought everything was fine. And then when I closed it, you can see that the blade centering is off. And the reason why this is an issue is I do not know if the centering was off before I took the knife apart. And that's just one of those things that you can control by taking pictures and being on top of what you're doing before you actually start the process. You know, take pictures. I didn't do it because I was like, oh, I'm going to do this in a quick hour or two. Just take the knife apart. I know how to put it back together. It's going to be fine. But now I don't know why this happened. You know, if this centering issue was there before I took the knife apart, then I would know that nothing got warped and there was no like heat issue caused by the work that I did. But now there's all these variables that are out there that I can't debunk because I didn't do the work that I should have to be prepared. And it's just little things like that that can help you achieve the result that you're looking for faster if you just do them. You know, one of the knives that I recently did, this Ganzo, and I'm not sure if I think I showed this in the last video. You know, I mean, I could have had a really nice, neat edge here, and I just didn't put the time in. You know, I didn't put the time in to make sure that the nail polish was even on the edge. And look at that, it just looks sloppy. You know, it's stuff like that that you need to make sure you're trying to avoid that stuff, because things like this knife, which we'll get into right now, can happen and you won't really have as much control. So let's talk about this. This is the Ryan 7 by CRKT. And this is one of my earlier mods that I did, and I was really happy with it while I was working on it, guys. I was so proud of myself. You know, I just really loved this this effect that came out on the blade with this this dual layer acid wash with the blotchy pattern. It just thought it looked really good, and I still think it looks really good. Good result there. You know, I did an acid wash on the liners that are behind these this scale here, and then the scales themselves I dyed green on the outside and a darker gray on the inside. And it just came out really good. I thought it was a great looking knife, you know, and I was like patting myself on the back while I was putting this knife back together. But one thing you might have heard me say before is, it doesn't matter how good the knife looks, if it doesn't function, it's a failure. And listen to this. This knife doesn't function. Lots of blade play. Up and down. No good. Never going to be able to carry this knife. Never going to be able to sell it. Not going to be able to do anything with it. You know, and this is one of those variables, one of those learning experiences that I really wasn't aware of at the time until I crossed the bridge to learn the information. And there's 1,000 bridges like this to cross in modifying knives. And what happened was, basically, I used 2 Ryan 7s, 2 of the knives, in order to get the pieces that I needed for the knife that I ended up putting together. I needed one knife that had like tan scales that I could dye, and then another Ryan 7 that I had that had a satin finish, and that I could, you know, more easily do the blade modification on. And so the liners, like, it's basically Frankenstein, and I can't even remember what liners are from what knife, and, you know, everything has different pieces, and I thought that would be fine because of interchangeable parts and all that good stuff. But the bad news is that the parts were not interchangeable, and so you get this kind of result. and I just made that assumption and wasn't really thinking about it when I was doing the work. And unfortunately, this knife will never be able to be used. I mean, look at this wonky lockup. That's crazy. No good. And, that's just something that until you really think about it or until you come across it, you do not, have an understanding of it. So while this knife in my eyes might look really good, I mean, it's useless to me now. I actually keep it on my desk to remind me of stuff like this because, whether you're an expert or whether you are a complete novice, and I'm probably closer to the novice range, to be honest with you, these things are going to happen, guys. They're just going to happen. Things are going to come up that, like I said, you don't know what's on the other side of the bridge until you cross it, and there's a ton of bridges. So, don't be discouraged when stuff like that happens. Make sure you follow the processes that you know to minimize any of the variables that you can. And then you can hopefully minimize results like this. But you're still going to have knives like this that sort of pile up. And you just have to chalk them off to learning experiences. And that's fine. All right, so just keep that in mind. No matter who it is, they always have these kind of circumstances coming up. And if you enjoy the process of learning about it, then it's going to be fine because you'll get something out of it every time. All right, guys, so that's what I got. That's what I'm working on. Any questions, comments, complaints, suggestions, any specific stuff that you want to know about, by all means, let me know. I'd love to hear from you. But I'll be following up with you soon with some of the results, hopefully from this guy right here and some of the other stuff I have going on. So thanks very much for your time and take care.